Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really interesting snapshot from 2013.
Right. It's a survey from the Economist Intelligence Unit.
Exactly. Looking at the cost of living across, what was it, 131 cities?
Yeah, 131 cities in 97 countries. Quite a wide net.
It really is. And our mission today is basically to pull out the most, well, fascinating bits about what made some cities super expensive back then.
Should give us some interesting insights into, global economics and city life.
For sure. Prepare to see maybe some familiar names in a slightly different light.
And it's always interesting how they measure this stuff. This survey looked at a whole range of things, obviously.
But the one that really caught my eye, and they highlighted it, was the price of a loaf of white bread.
Just plain white bread. It seems so basic.
Totally basic.
Yeah.
But in the top 10 cities we're going to talk about, the price range from just over $5
Okay.
all the way up to $9.40 for bread.
Wow. That's quite a spread. So where do we start? The top.
Let's do it. Number one. And
Yeah.
right away you see Asia and Australia really dominating the top spots here.
Yeah, that's striking.
So the most expensive city in the world in 2013.
Tokyo.
Makes sense.
Huge city.
Huge. Over 13 million people. And that loaf of white bread, $9.06. $9.06.
Whew. That really says something about the cost pressure in a major global center like Tokyo.
It does. You think about density, demand for everything.
Land prices alone must be astronomical. It filters down even to bread, I guess.
And sticking with Japan, number 2 was Osaka.
Another massive Japanese city. Over 16 million people there.
Yeah, and bread was still incredibly pricey, $7.94.
So Japan holding the top 2 spots, that tells a story about their economy at the time, or at least urban costs.
Right. Some consistent factors driving up prices in their big cities, you'd assume.
Could be infrastructure, high development level, consumer demand, that sort of thing.
Okay, moving down slightly, number 3 takes us to Australia, Sydney.
Right, Sydney. Population over 4.5 million.
And it was Australia's most expensive city then. The bread price, $5.03.
Okay, so that's a noticeable drop from Tokyo and Osaka. Still high, but definitely lower.
Yeah, over $4 cheaper than Tokyo.
Interesting. So maybe different cost drivers are more dominant in Sydney. Perhaps domestic agriculture plays a bigger role, keeping that specific cost down a bit compared to Japan.
Could be. Now, breaking that Asia-Australia run, number 4 brings us to Europe.
Ah, okay. Where in Europe?
Oslo, Norway, the capital.
Right. Much smaller population, relatively. About 1.4 million in the metro area.
Yeah, and it was Europe's priciest city, according to this survey. Bread there cost $6.31.
$6.31. You do wonder about location, Norway's northern latitude, maybe transport costs, local growing seasons.
That's a good point. Logistics can really add up.
And tied with Oslo, essentially with the same overall cost index, was number 5, Melbourne, Australia.
Australia again. So 2 in the top 5.
Yeah. Melbourne, another big one, about 4.2 million people. Clearly, Australia's major cities were pretty expensive places to live back then.
Definitely showing up strongly on this list. Okay, number 6 is, well, unique.
Oh, how so?
Singapore.
Ah, the city-state. Right. Over 5 million people packed onto a small island.
Exactly. Its status as both a country and a global business hub must play a huge role in costs.
Absolutely. Limited land is always the big story with Singapore, driving up property values like crazy. Plus, it's a magnet for high-income workers.
That makes sense. Okay, number 7 takes us back to Europe, specifically Switzerland. Zurich.
Zurich. Now that's smaller again, population-wise, around 400,000.
Right. Quite different from Tokyo or Osaka.
Yeah.
But still very expensive. That loaf of bread, $6.08.
Switzerland often appears high on these lists, doesn't it? Economic stability, strong currency, high quality of life.
Yeah, but that quality often comes with a higher price tag for, well, everything, even bread.
True. And $6.08 was also the price in the city at number 8.
A very famous one. Paris.
Ah, Paris, of course. Population around 2.2 million.
Global icon for culture, tourism, business. You expect it to be pricey, I suppose.
You do. That $6.08 for bread just kind of underlines the cost of living in such a desirable, high-demand city.
Okay, now for number 9. This one might be the biggest surprise for many people listening.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Caracas, Venezuela.
Caracas, wow. Okay, population close to 2 million.
And get this. Remember the bread prices we've been talking about?
Yeah.
In Caracas, that loaf of white bread cost $9.40.
$9.40. That's the highest price we've seen, higher even than Tokyo.
Yep, highest in the top 10 for just that loaf of bread.
Okay, that almost certainly points to specific severe economic problems, right? Like Massive inflation or currency controls hitting imports really hard back in 2013.
That seems like the most logical explanation. It feels like an outlier driven by, very particular circumstances in Venezuela at that time.
Definitely stands out from the others, which seem more driven by general prosperity or density.
Right. And finally, rounding out the top 10, we're back in Switzerland,
Okay, another Swiss city,
Geneva.
Geneva. Even smaller population-wise, right?
Yeah.
Only about 200,000 residents.
Exactly. The smallest city in this top 10, but still up there in terms of cost.
So, two Swiss cities in the top 10. Like Zurich, you figure Geneva benefits from that overall Swiss economic strength, high standards. Maybe its role hosting international organizations adds to the cost base, too.
Seems likely. So looking
Yeah.
at the whole list, it's quite a mix geographically.
It really is. You've got Asia, Australia, Europe, that unique case in Singapore.
And the curveball from South America with Caracas?
Yeah, Japan and Australia clearly had a strong showing at the very top, then established European hubs.
It makes you think about all the different forces at play, doesn't it? Economic stability versus instability, sheer demand in massive cities, maybe just the cost of getting goods there.
For sure. The survey gives us the what the ranking, but doesn't spell out all the whys. You have to connect some dots based on what you know about these places.
It was a fascinating snapshot from 2013, using that simple loaf of bread as a sort of indicator.
It is. It provides a really valuable reference point.
Okay, so just to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, this 2013 list showed a real variety of expensive cities.
We saw Japan and Australia dominant early on.
Right, then pricey European centers like Oslo, Zurich, Paris, Geneva,
Singapore is that unique city-state case.
and Caracas really standing out, likely due to specific economic turmoil, highlighted by that incredibly high bread price.
That bread price really did offer a surprisingly sharp lens sometimes.
It did. So here's something for you, the listener, to chew on. How do you think this list looks now, over a decade later?
Yeah, how might things have shifted? And what other metrics, maybe beyond just everyday items, could give us a different picture of the real cost or even the quality of life?
That's a great point. What other simple product, like bread, could tell such a surprising story about global economics today?
Something to think about, definitely.
Yeah.
Lots has changed since 2013.